Hey everyone, Casey with CReeves Makes here. I'm at the Rockler store in Orland Park. I'm here with Tom Motinka, a professional cabinet builder, and today I'm going to take a class on advanced cabinet making. What I'm going to do is ask him some basic questions, and also he's going to go through and show us some of the best tips and tricks for building cabinets based on his experience and what he's learned over the years. So now we're going to go over the basics of designing a cabinet and what you have to take into consideration before you even start cutting the wood to build your cabinet.
Okay, normally when I'm designing a cabinet or laying a cabinet out, I pretty much want to start with what type of wood I'm going to use as far as the actual face frame goes, and also what's going to be on the inside of the cabinet. What are we going to make the cabinet out of as far as the inside? Is it going to be a plywood, a pre-finished plywood, which has a finish on it? You actually buy a 4x8 sheet that's finished already, or a melamine, which is very similar to a plywood, but it has a particle board core. A lot of things you have to know as far as laying the cabinet out. So what size face frame you're going to use. 1.5 inches is a common size, and you can see there's different sizes on here, which there's a mid rail that I make a little bit wider, and the reason I do that is so I can keep, when I lay my door overlays out, I want to keep the same reveal on the outside that I can.
That makes sense.
And this style here is a little wider because this is going against the wall. Okay. And I don't know if you can see, I have a little scribe on here that I can take material off easily if I put this against the wall and the wall has a bowl in it or something like that. But that's kind of some basic things that you have to know. Door style, what type of door style you want. Is it going to be a raised panel door? Is it going to be a flat panel door? And there's so many different styles of door. Another consideration is what type of drawer box do you want? You know, do you want a dovetail drawer box? Do you want just a simple basic drawer box that can be pocket screwed together? That all comes into play as far as cost-wise too, cost and time.
Okay, Tom. So why don't you walk me through the process of how you would build the cabinet? So now you know your drawer reveals and your door size and shape, everything that you want in the cabinet itself. You have your hardware picked out. Now it's time for you to start making the material and getting everything put together for the cabinet.
Casey. So what I like to start with, building the actual face frames first, instead of building the cabinet boxes. And the reason I do that, my shop is not huge, and once you start, this is just one cabinet here as far as material goes. So
this is one cabinet all in this pile right here.
All in this pile here. So picture that you have, a kitchen. Average kitchens probably have 10-12 cabinets. You can have 10-12 times more material around, and then when you start putting together as a box, well, your shop that you thought was really big, it starts getting really small. So what I like to do is I'll build all my face frames first, and the other reason I like to do that too is I can get all my measurements for my drawers. I can get all my measurements for my drawer fronts, and also for my doors. So while my shop is nice and big, because I don't have a lot of boxes in there, I can build all my drawer boxes, I can build all my doors and drawer fronts, and then I can stack them on the side. And then what I'll do is I'll double check my measurements on my face frames, which is I like to do before I start building my boxes. So I kind of lay everything out. I'll lay actually where my sides are going, where my tops and bottoms are going. I just double check the measurements so I'm accurate when I build my cabinet boxes. So after I have all my face frames, cabinet drawer boxes, cabinet doors, and drawer fronts made, what I'll do is put them off to the side, and then I start constructing my cabinets. And then once my cabinets are done, I can put everything together, finish it, and get it out of the shop.
Excellent.
Face frame material, normally what I do is I will rip it on a table saw. And I'll what we call S4S it. So I'll finish both edges. I'll run them through the planer. After I run them through the planer, I run them through I have a drum sander. I run my stock through the drum sander, and then I put everything together. And then after I attach it to the box, a little light sanding, and I'm done. Instead of leaving everything rough, I like to pre-sand it and then put it together and then attach it to the cabinet.
So let's move on to the construction then of the cabinet.
Cabinet boxes, like I said, normally I will make them out of melamine. I do mine a little bit different than a conventional cabinet. I set mine up as far as when I can cut a cabinet, I have a standardized set of parts for sides.
Okay.
If it's a long cabinet for a partition, that's going to be a standardized size also. So all I vary from is like the width of a cabinet would be the top rails and then a bottom. Everything else is going to be the same. So if I'm doing a kitchen and I have, 20, 25 sides and partitions, they're pretty much all going to be the same size.
Okay.
So I can interchange it from cabinet to cabinet. I'm not stuck with, I have this pile, this pile, this pile. Basically a side of a cabinet.
Okay.
Okay, so you can have two of them, of course. I like to pre-bore all my shelf holes. And I like my construction, I like to put it together with dominoes.
Okay.
Which I think they are far superior as far as strength goes and alignment. Makes the cabinet go together really, really easy. So we start out with our two sides, and there's a couple ways you can build cabinets. Some guys like to let the side run through the top, which means if I have a top rail here, the side will run through the top. I prefer to let the top and the bottom run through the side. Okay, and the reason I do that is, remember I said I could cut all my panels all the same? So if I have a partition, I can cut it the same as a side panel. And my holes that I drill, I don't have to change the setting on my holes. In my partitions, if I have a panel where the side runs through, I got to cut the partition smaller. Yeah. So this way I can make all my panels and partitions the same size. I have pocket holes to hold my face frames on. Okay. And I like to use rails as opposed to a solid top. Okay. Reasoning is when I'm hanging my drawer fronts, I can actually get inside and line them up and screw them together. And it doesn't matter what length they are, they're all going to be the same construction I have here. I'll put a like a tight bond 2 on the actual domino, and then there's a tight bond makes a melamine glue.
Oh, okay.
And you can put a couple dabs of that, and the blocks are really, really solid.
I see here that you've got a couple what I would call like a cabinet or like a carcass screw. Mm-hmm. Is this what you primarily use for?
That's what I primarily use. It's called a conformat screw.
Okay.
It's excellent for man-made materials, MDF, particle board. It's almost like a steel dowel.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's a special drill bit that you use with it. It's a step drill. They go together real easy. Pretty much you just pop them in and you pre-drill them, of course. Yep. And then just pop them in. They hold really well. This is my basic box. Okay. I'm going to show you the reason I do this way. I don't have to do any finishing on it right now. Once I get this all together. Okay. Yeah. So as far as the face frames go, when I do add them to the cabinets, I use a biscuit for basically for alignment, not really for strength. It just makes it a lot easier to line it up. I leave a little bit of a reveal there. Let us, overshoot the bottom a little bit. This way you don't have to try to flush it up, because it's really difficult to flush up a face frame to the actual bottom of the cabinet. This is a hardwood face frame, so I'm using a fine thread screw. If it was a softwood frame, I'd use a coarse thread screw. So I usually finish, what I do is I'll put the end on, and I'll show you my auxiliary end, which is basically just a piece of plywood. And the nice thing about this is now I can cut all my finish ends the same size also. Gotcha. So basically I'll notch out for a toe kick, okay, and then I'll band it with a piece of 1/8 inch solid material, because you got the unsightly plies in the actual plywood. So I'll go ahead and band it and flush it up. And I've got biscuits cut in the actual plywood.
Nice, and I see you got a cleat.
This is a little cleat that's going to stop my toe kick. Okay, so when we start putting our base on, we're going to see how that comes into play. So this is going to slide on like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it, and I'm going to put some clamps on here. And then I'm going to let it dry. And then what I'll do is I'm going to flush this up. And basically, it's a router with a sub base on it. and I let the bit hang down, and I just run it
So
along.
the base dictates the level surface.
Correct. So after I get the end glued on, I put a couple screws on the inside. So after I get this all together, basically what I have to do is I have to add a toe kick, okay, and a back.
Okay.
So a back, normally, on base cabinets, I'm going to use either a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. But if you're going to use a slide that you want to mount the socket to the back of the cabinet, like a drawer slide,
Yeah.
you want to use a 1/2 inch so you got something to screw into.
Basically what's happening is there's an edge reveal right here. That's
Correct.
the thickness of the back panel. And
Well,
that-
this will sit against here, and I can screw my actual back into all 3/4 inch material,
Yeah.
so it's going to be nice and solid.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what I have here is another scribe.
Okay.
So if my wall is uneven, I've got some, something to take off to make it fit the wall.
Do you do any kind of internal vertical here?
Simplest way is just to cut like a little cleat here.
Okay.
Okay. And it's just basically what you would do is you would. Okay. So what I do is I'll attach a toe kick.
Okay.
I've got some pocket screws on the side here.
Okay.
I'll just slip this underneath like this. That cleat that we showed you earlier,
Yeah.
I'll line it up. I'll put a couple pins in there to hold it, a little bit of construction adhesive because there's probably going to be some finish on it.
Yeah.
And then pocket screw the side, and that's basically
Yeah.
a base cabinet. Whatever my reveal is going to be, whatever I want it to be, I put my door on first, line it up so everything's lined up. I put 2 dowel centers in there. Okay. Then I line this up where my drawer is.
Oh, gotcha.
I pop it against there. That leaves 2 little indents. I pre-drill it. Then I can stick my
Stick your screw in through the back.
and then I just tighten it up with this spacer in it, pull it out, and I've got perfect alignment
Wow.
every time.
You set your spacer here.
Mm-hmm.
You have your dowel setters
Correct?
already in your pre-drilled holes.
Correct. And I just line this side up here. Okay.
Okay. And then you
And I line this guy up
line
here.
that up there. Push that up in place and pop it. And that puts the dimples in the back. You pre-drill your holes.
Pre-drill it. Leave this in there. Pop the centers out.
And then
Take
run your
my
screws
screws
in,
in it.
then pull your...
And I pull this out. And if it, sometimes, you might get a little bit of a
Yeah.
slip or something like that. Just loosen it up, and
Nice.
that's the easiest way to put them in. If it was a really wide drawer, what I would do is I would switch from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch at the bottom.
Okay.
Definitely, because it's going to be, and I would always use plywood. Some guys will use melamine. It's just going to really, even a drawer that long is going to sag over time. What I'll do is I'll make sure that, the sides are not bowing out. And like I said, what I do is I'll shoot some small slight head brads.
Okay.
And I'll just shoot a little bit of a hot glue in there to hold it,
Okay.
Shoot the brads in there. And that keeps it, if the side is bowed,
Yeah.
that keeps it together.
Walk me through the steps of finishing that cabinet now. It's done, it's glued, it's screwed, it's all put together. What are your steps for putting finish on that cabinet? Is it fully assembled? Is it pulled apart?
Well,
as far
first
as...
thing I make sure that I don't have any backs on my cabinets. If I have to paint a cabinet, or if it's an exposed cabinet where I have to have the inside finished, like a glass cabinet or an open cabinet,
Yeah.
I always leave the backs off. If you've got an open cabinet, you can go around and spray. You can go through
From
the
2
front
directions,
or
right?
the back. Yeah. So I want to make sure I leave all my backs off. Anything I'm finishing like that. So pre-sand all our face frames to 120 off the cabinet. But then we assemble them. Okay. I flush up the ends, face frame to the finished end. She'll blend that in with 120, and then she'll sand it to 150.
Okay.
And that's about as high as we go.
Okay.
So then we decide if it's what kind of stain we're going to use. Is it going to be a white bond stain? Is it going to be a spray only stain? Or is it just going to be natural? So if it's just natural, we just take it and I seal it. We mask it off and everything.
Yeah.
Put our cardboard in there to keep it overspray. We will. I'll seal it, and then we'll sand it, and then we'll use 2 top coats on there. And then I use, they call it a crosshatch test. So basically what you do is you take a utility knife after it dries. I usually let it dry for a few days.
Okay.
So it sets up, it cures. So what you do is you score a square of lines with a utility knife, 1/8 inch apart in a cross pattern. So you got like little cross, and they take some tape, put it on there, and you peel it up. And the finish should not peel up.
Oh.
If it peels up, it means your top coat is not adhering to your sealer. So
Okay.
that's kind of a good test. So.
Okay, everybody. Well, we are done with the advanced cabinet making class. I've learned a lot from Tom. I want to thank him for his time and showing me everything that you did, all the tips and the tricks that were shared along the way. I learned a lot of good information today on cabinet making, and can't wait to kind of put it forward into the processes that I go through when I'm starting to build cabinets in my shop. So, Tom, is there anything that you want to add, just tips or advice to people that are going to
Actually,
build a cabinet?
I learned a few things from you today too.
Oh.
So I think it worked out both. It's just nice to be able to share, different tips and different stories on woodworking. Keep the trade alive.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time
All right,
today.
thanks.
And thank you to Rockler Woodworking for allowing all this to happen and come together. And stay tuned. If you guys did not know, Rockler does have classes on site at their store location. So I will put up some information for you to share and to see, because there are some really cool courses and classes that you can take here. Anything from turning, simple woodworking, all the way up to advanced cabinet making with someone like Tom here, where you can really just take your skill to the next level and learn something. So thanks to Rockler for that opportunity, and stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.